Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Julian Angelov. I'm a perfumer. I also created my own perfume brand available exclusively online. And for those of you guys that are following my channel, you know that I love vintage perfumes and I also love to review and criticize other perfumes on the market. So today I was very lucky and I went for vintage perfume hunting in the flea market. I live close to Barcelona and there is one amazing flea market with very futuristic building. Everything is mirror and glass on the top, but it's open air market. And sometimes you can find amazing things for the fraction of the price. And this is the case, was the case today. I was very lucky and I bought 5 items, but I'm gonna speak only about 2 perfumes I purchased today. And those perfumes are considered for one of the most important perfumes in the history of the perfumery. So let's start with the first one. This is Nina Ricci. Here you can see it with the original box. And I think that this was probably from the late 70s. What is very precious here is also the original box. And the most interesting part here for the collection, people who like to collect perfumes, this is a collection about item. It's because this is 13 milliliters, 13 milliliters. I'm gonna open it. Of course, I know how it smells, but I'm gonna talk in details about this landmark in the perfumery. So look how it looks. Isn't this amazing in the original bottle? Look at this. And I'm gonna open it. Here you can see even the logo of Nina Ricci on the cap. Very, very nice. So, L'air du temps of Nina Ricci was created in 1948. So long time ago. And as you can imagine, the perfumes on that time were smelling different than the perfumes that we all know from the department store or designer perfumes. Absolutely different kind of smell. And as a perfumer, I have to tell you why. So on that time, first let me begin because we have 3 different approach of perfume creation or perfume formulations in the perfumery, depending on the time they were created. So perfumery, it's an art that it's not evolving so fast like the other arts. For example, you have the painting that you have different periods like Renaissance and Baroque, and before that. In the perfumery, so far we have only 3 different periods that we consider as different approach of the perfume formulations. And this perfume is the landmark of one of those periods, called also the middle period, that it's reference to the years between 40, just after the Second World War, between the 40s and the end of the 60s. And of course it smells amazing, and I'm gonna tell you why, because the way it was constructed, formulated, is very different than the way modern perfumes are formulated. It was made in 1948, and on that time the perfumes were mostly created with a lot of flowers. Let's say that the main theme was the flowers, white flowers, flowers bouquet, different kind of flowers. And most of that, the perfumes that were created on that time which is kind of after the war. People were more optimistic, they are still genuine, they have different moral values, they believe in love, they be romantic, and that's why the flowers probably was the expression, they were the expression of that kind of time. And the name of this perfume is also l'air du temps. It means the air of the time, literally, but also it means um, something very representative of that time, Nina Ricci. And this perfume, I'm gonna smell it again, I spray it today. It's amazing because was created in a very interesting way. This is actually one of the best representative of the structure top, middle and bottom notes in a very specific ratio. After that, this was in 48, in the 60s, another French very famous perfumer, Jean Carlo, he created and also he published this method of the Jean Carlo that most of you guys know about, olfactory pyramid in the top, in the middle and the bottom notes and different kind of ratio. And this was the super nice example how this perfume was created. So in this kind of method, what is more interesting is that perfumers start with the base note accord, and then they put some modifiers and some top notes on the top for diffusion. So the proportions, according to Jean Carlos, are 55% for the base note, 20 for the middle notes, or also called modifying notes, and 25 for the top notes. And this is one of the typical example how this perfume was created. So let's spray, and I'm gonna tell you how it was composed, what kind of notes are inside, and how it smells. I'm gonna be very careful here. Yes, just a little bit. So something very important to tell you, I noticed here on the box was written chlorofluoride de carbone 114. So what is inside in this flacon in French, back on the time, they were putting some kind of expelling gas that actually is responsible for the ozone hole. It was banned in the 87 globally. So now in these days, no one is using this gas anymore, but this was used back on the time here. This gas creates pressure, so it's more easy for the liquid to come out. And that's why I sprayed just a little bit here. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Nothing compares as this kind of structure of a perfume. Oh my gosh. So this perfume was created, as I told you, on the structure, very top, middle and bottom in very precise ratio. And here we have the very typical accord, which is the carnation accord, which is also created. This is a combination of eugenol and ylang ylang, and after was added methionine, vetiver acetate, sandalwood, and some musks. So this is what is the composition of the base note. You have a prominent accord of carnation, all synthetics here with maybe some also sandalwood can be natural here, because this was from the late, I think, 60s or 70s. Yes, we have very prominent carnation accord composed from synthetics. As a middle notes, we have a bouquet of flowers. So we have lilac, we have muguet, which is lily of the valley, and we have also probably gardenia and rose, and all those are probably synthetic, simple synthetic combinations of synthetic ingredients. Wow, amazing. And the top note, I think we have probably bergamot. Yeah, bergamot and some rosewood, which has a natural linalool inside. But this kind of perfumes that are created in that way have amazing 3D texture. It's like almost that it not only you smell them, but you are diving into the smell, you know, this kind of 3D texture of the smell. What is the most important thing in the history of perfume here? It's the structure that influenced the perfume creation after that perfume, and many other perfumes are descending from this kind of perfume structure composed used from this combination of the accord of benzyl salicylate, ylang ylang, that creates this carnation smell and note. And some of those perfumes like Fiji, for example, and you definitely know Charlie from the thing was 73 that was created. Charlie has also a bit of tuberose that is very kind of strong flower note. You have also an anais, very mythical perfumes, also on the same structure. And maybe you have also, I think, Chloe. Yes, Chloe has also created on that kind of structure. So yes, this is, as I told you, a landmark in the perfume making, and influenced also not only other perfume creations, but also cosmetics, you know, perfume fragrance for cosmetics, because people thought on that time that smelling flowers and carnations is also very suitable for cosmetics, for lipsticks, creams, and other type of cosmetics. I love it. They don't make this kind of perfumes anymore. I make them with my fragrances. I created them in the similar way, and you have 3D diffusion and texture, and they were inspired from the vintage fragrances. I make conceptual vintage fragrances in modern times that are wearable now, and they have 3D textures. Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about the next one. I'm very curious also, guys, to make you discover. So this is, I think, a real treasure, because look of the color. You know, this color is probably make me think that this is kind of the original formula inside, because the color is a bit darker and reddish inside. They changed, I think, 2 times or maybe several times the formula, because one of the ingredients, a main ingredient of this perfume, was banned from IFRA, and there are no substitute to this ingredient to make the same formula for many years, and they have to change it completely. But what I think this is one of the original, because the color it's a bit reddish, which is, I think this is from the late 60s. So this one, it's a splash, you can see. Oh my gosh. And it's 112 milliliters, very unusual format to sell fragrances. Nobody do this anymore these days. And this is eau de toilette. So the cup, it's kind of ceramic. You can see that. You can see here, can you see? Christian Dior. Okay, you can see it. So this fragrance is also mythical and considered with one of the most successful efforts in perfumery, was created in 1956. Yes, probably 1956, from Edmund Rudnitska, one of the greatest perfumers of all time. He also created later Eau Sauvage of Dior. And Dior, Christian Dior, the brand itself, Christian Dior, the creator, the designer, he was very fond of Muguet, which is lily of the valleys. It was his fetish, good fortune flower. Everything was lily of the valley, Muguet. And in the 1954, he was also designing a new clothing collection, haute couture, inspired from that flower, from the muguet. And after the next year, he met with Edmond Rudnitska, and he created the perfume to complement the collection, his clothing collection, haute couture. Muguet, it's a very interesting flower. It's a super small, it's a lily of the valley, it's have very small flowers, and there is no natural oil existing even these days from this flower, because it's impossible to distill it because it's very small. You need tons of those, and they're very fragile, so distillation is impossible, and florage is also impossible. No method is possible to distill or to make essential oil from the muguet. That's why only synthetic ingredients exist that mimic the smell of muguet. And this perfume was created from synthetics, mostly, but also with the help of some naturals. And the ingredient that was banned at that time was called lyro. And IFRA banned it because they somehow discovered that it can provoke some irritation on the skin, or I don't know what. But this lyro was one of the most amazing ingredients and was mimicking the natural smell of muguet. So Edmond Rudnitska, he's a genius perfumer. He made a lot of publications of perfume making and how to make perfumes, and he was a philosopher. And his idea was to create, this is also after the war, his idea was to create something that is very luminous and in structure very simple. So how to reproduce this muguet scent in a perfume and to make it very realistic? This is the genius here of the perfumer. Probably, as I told you, he used combinations of synthetics and some naturals to a little bit to highlight the freshness of the muguet. But this muguet is 3D replica of the real lily of the valley, the one that you go and you pick up from the garden and you smell it. So there is no perfume that exists except this one that represents so realistically the smell of the muguet. Muguet is very delicate. You have probably 4 different components there. You have maybe a little bit of rose inside, you have jasmine, you have a little bit of ylang ylang, and there is also green elements because muguet smells a little bit fresh and green, and this is what makes it so difficult to replicate. And this is one amazing fragrance. Back on the time, this was like super iconic fragrance because women on that time in the 50s and the 60s, they wanted to smell flowers. They wanted to smell, as I told you, gentle flowers, feminine, clean, romantic, and the flowers are romantic. And after that, the perfumery evolved in different kind, of smelling and notes, because the consumers, they wanted something different. Perfumers, they have their own specific time and epoch, as all the art have. For example, in the 70s, very prominent in the 80s, start to be the tuberose note that is very intoxicating, strong, and you have the emancipation of the woman, the sexual liberation at that time. Women wanted to be strong, so the tuberose have this strong and power, intoxicating smell. And the creation also in the society change, the mass consuming start to evolve, like McDonald's, the fast food. People wanted everything to be fast and quick and immediate and globally everywhere. So that's why, another type of perfume structure evolved from another perfumer, very famous on that time. This is Sophia Grossman, and she's a genius also. She created another type of structure. So in her structure was based on simple accord that was decorated with like many other ingredients from synthetics and maybe some also natural. But the advantage of that perfume was that on the time, people start buying perfumes also in the department store and also duty free. So when you go in the duty free and you spray your perfume, so you cannot wait 2 hours for the middle and note to appear to your nose after the top note disappear. That's why Sophia Grossman created this type of perfume formulations that they reveal their self from the beginning. You spray it, how it smells since the beginning to the end. They don't change, they don't evolve during the time. And this was typical for that time of the society, wanted something fast and available. That's why she created this kind of simplistic accords, very often composed from 4 ingredients that were actually decorated with many other ingredients in very small proportions. So as soon as you spray it, you know how it smells. That's it. So this kind of perfumes, I'm going to have another one here. I bought also this on the market. I'm going to tell you why today. And this kind of perfumes, they may lack a little bit of this 3D, effect of the texture that reveals with the time. But you know how they smell since the beginning, and they can be also very powerful and long lasting. And you smell them immediately, they reveal themselves immediately. So yes, this is the difference of this type of perfume formulations, and how the history of the perfumery is very important also for the perfumers, and for people who are interested in perfume making, to know what kind of structure you want to use to create your perfumes. Many people are asking me, okay, how to create a perfume? Give me 1, 2, 3. I told you there are 3 different kind of approaches. I mentioned it 2 today. And guys, for those of you that are very serious in that matter and you want to learn more, or you want to learn more for a business, I am organizing 1-to-1 or many people to one online courses face to face with me, 3 hours intense online, where I'm gonna teach you how everything about perfumery and how to create those 3 types of perfume structure and to obtain, of course, longevity and amazing diffusion as those here famous perfumes from the vintage time. So for those of you that are also interested of learning more, you can write me an email. I'm going to put it in the description here. So write an email, let's talk. I'm gonna see what is your level of perfumery knowledge. I'm gonna tell you what kind of materials you need to prepare, and you can schedule this 3 hours intense course of learning of how to make professional perfumes. So yes, I'm gonna be again soon going to the flea markets to find some other interesting finds. So this one that I told you, this is typical from that it was created in 1983. This is Guerlain Jardin du Bagatelle. So Bagatelle, it's a chateau, it's a castle in the Bois de Boulogne in Paris. That was famous for the garden, has very interesting garden. But so I smelled this one and I sprayed this morning here. It was 11 o'clock. So now it's 8 o'clock in the evening and this still smells. So this is how this was created according to the Sophia Grossman's method of simplistic accord decorated with other elements, and that reveals immediately its heart. Very long lasting. So who am I to criticize Guerlain? It's not a critic here, but back on the time in the 80s, people have different assumption and different idea about how perfumes should smell and what is natural and what is, not natural smell. So as you know, in the 80s was very famous, every kind of in the music, synthetic piano, synthesizers, electronic sound. The same was also related to perfumes. People start exploring synthetic ingredients in humongous quantities. Sorry, this is my dog barking somewhere. Millie, I'm gonna show her in the video if she comes here. I don't know how she opened the door. And she was inside. So yes, in the 80s or crazy years, people were into synthesizers, and also this kind of fragrances were very popular. But even though the name is the Garden of Bagatelle, to me it doesn't smell like gardenish. It smells like a clean shampoo. This shampoo, Head and Shoulders, and it's have very strong perfume inside. So you wash your hair, you dry it, and go out, and still smells. So this kind of Head and Shoulder, kind of type of notes inside. Very interesting, by the way. To me, it's a bit more like on the synthetic side. I think the amount of hexyl benzoate, sorry, it's too prominent here, which gives a bit of plasticky, synthetical kind of smell. It's very interesting, and very typical for the 80s fragrance. Just to compare the other two perfumes here that have different kind of structure. So thank you very much for watching the video until the end. We see you guys soon. If I go and find another perfumes, I'm gonna review them because I love vintage. Those are inspirational perfumes. And otherwise, if I go and gonna sample some new perfumes, I'm gonna also review them here. And I wanna make also a new video of perfume making and learning about perfumery. Ciao.